Hello, everybody. I can see a few people are slowly joining us. Lisa will be helping me monitor the waiting room and also help me monitoring questions. I'm going to keep my camera on. You guys don't have to. There's only a few of you here, so feel free to send questions to Lisa. We'll be doing questions at the end, but ask them as we go through, and that way I'll be able to get through all of them at the end, and that way you don't forget your questions. And this will be a pretty quick PowerPoint, and it'll be really casual. If you have questions about the process at all, I know some of you have already applied before, but hopefully this will add some more insight to your future applications. So with that being said, I'm going to okay. Okay, so hi everybody, I am Alana Perez. I am the VISTA Program Director. I will be the one that you will be asking all the questions for in regards to our VISTA program. This is going to be a really broad introduction to AmeriCorps VISTA and other AmeriCorps programs to help you decide if VISTA is right for you and right for your organization. And as well as get a little bit of insight as to how you should go about your application. Lisa Much will be my question person. If you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to send them to her or put them in the chat. She'll be monitoring those, and she'll also be monitoring the waiting room. If you have to jump off at any point, and come back, or if you have another meeting that you need to get to, this is being recorded, and we'll be putting the recording on the website for you to reference later. And with that, let's get started. So what we are going to be doing is going over the Ohio CDC Association, other AmeriCorps programs, the AmeriCorps VISTA program goals, our OCDCA Association program goals, our program requirements for AmeriCorps VISTA overall, as well as how to apply for our AmeriCorps VISTA program. Who we are, we're a statewide association that focuses on capacity building, advocacy, and public policy. We have several programs within our organization open to all OCDCA members. We do training and professional development. We work on affordable housing and economic development, technical assistance. We have an IDA program, a micro enterprise business development program, a social enterprise incubation program, which I will quickly plug. Applications are due November 22nd, I believe, for that program. We also do public policy and advocacy, and of course, AmeriCorps VISTA. National service is overseen by the Corporation of National and Community Service. You will hear me say CNCS a lot. This is the federal agency that I will be referring to. And they see not just AmeriCorps VISTA, they also oversee all the other AmeriCorps programs. The mission of CNCS is to improve lives, strengthen communities, and foster civic engagement through service and volunteering. These 4 goals are overall CNCS goals, so they're not specific to the Ohio CDC Association. Goal 1 is to increase the impact of national service. Goal 2, strengthen national service so participants feel engaged and supported throughout their programs. Goal 3 is to maximize value that you as a sub-site would receive, as well as partners within the community. And goal 4 is to fortify management and operations and sustain a capable, responsible, and accountable organization. So there is more than one type of AmeriCorps program, and we're just going to briefly go over them. If you have more questions about another program, feel free to ask me. I will say that I don't oversee any of these other programs, but I will do my best to answer any questions you have regarding those programs and be able to point you in the right direction. So NCCC is the National Civilian Community Corps. It's a full-time service program, I believe full-time service for 10 to 11 months. And they focus on energy conservation, infrastructure improvement, natural and other disaster services, as well as urban and rural development. There is an age limit for this, which is 18 to 26, but it's open to anybody. And then NCCC members serve at nonprofits, local municipalities, state governments, federal government, national and state parks, Indian tribes, and schools. Their service projects cover a wider range of things, and they're assigned throughout the region that they are assigned. There are 4 campuses in the United States that NCCC members consider their home base. So while they may be all over the country, they will always go back to their home base in one of the 4 regions. FEMA Corps is under NCCC, so it is an NCCC program. It's a collaboration between the Federal Emergency Management Agency and CNCS. It's very focused, so it focuses on disaster survivor assistance, individual assistance, and overall emergency planning and emergency management. People that are typically drawn to FEMA Corps are individuals that are looking into a career in emergency management, as well as looking to help in events surrounding a natural disaster. AmeriCorps State and National, I would say, is the broadest AmeriCorps program. It encompasses a wider range of projects, so it's not specific to disaster services. AmeriCorps State and National programs have a bunch of different names under it, but all of them would be considered AmeriCorps State and National. They focus on intensive community service, and they serve every state, every U.S. territory, as well as tribal reservations. It doesn't have an upper age limit. You just have to be 17 or older. And they focus on environmental conservation, disaster response, education programs, economic and community resources, and veteran support. Like I said, state and national is very, very broad. My AmeriCorps service was through AmeriCorps State and National. I worked for the Red Cross in the Los Angeles region, and I did a lot of disaster services, a lot of education for children surrounding natural disasters and how to respond to natural disasters in their area. I also did a lot of volunteer management, volunteer recruitment. So my position was pretty broad. And like I said, that was one specific program within state and national. My sister, who is in that photo on the right, she's the one on the left, she is in Earth Corps, and she does a lot of conservation work, as well as she does urban gardens, she does a lot of urban farming. So, and she's part of Earth Corps, which is a different program than one like I was in. And all of these are still under the this AmeriCorps State and National program. And AmeriCorps State and National, as well as FEMA Corps and NCCC, they're allowed to do indirect service as well as direct service. I will go into what that means when we talk about VISTA. Yeah. So what is AmeriCorps VISTA? AmeriCorps VISTA is an anti-poverty program. It's designed for nonprofits to increase their capacity to better alleviate poverty in their communities. AmeriCorps VISTA members serve full-time for 1 year, so 365 days, and they make the cost of living, and it's called a living stipend. There are other benefits that I will go into, but that is a key aspect of the program. Is AmeriCorps VISTA members make the cost of living for them throughout their year. Projects vary greatly, but they all have the same goal of alleviating poverty through capacity building. Some brief history about VISTA, and we're going to go into this because VISTA is older than State and National, and it's older than NCCC. It was conceptualized by John F. Kennedy in 1963, but LBJ was the one who signed it into existence, I would say, under the Economic Opportunity Act in 1964. And it started off as a focus to help provide urgently needed services in urban and rural poverty areas. At the start of the VISTA program, there were only 20 VISTA members in their first year, but at the end of that first year, close to 2,000 members had already signed on for an additional year or for another year. And you can see on the right, the first few VISTA volunteers standing behind Lyndon B. Johnson, which I think is a really cool photo. So the first VISTA projects were pretty focused. Individuals worked in the Appalachian region. They worked with migrant workers in California, as well as low-income neighborhoods in Hartford, Connecticut. Projects included block watch clubs, credit unions, agricultural co-ops, groups, and focused support for small businesses. And just a quick fact, a lot of Head Start programs and Job Corps programs were started through a VISTA project. AmeriCorps VISTA, as we know it today, was signed into existence in 1990 under George H.W. Bush under the National Community Service Act. In 1993, President Clinton expanded national service to create AmeriCorps overall under the through the National Community Service Trust Act, and that is when CNCS, the Corporation for National Community Service, was created, and that's when we saw the start of all of these other AmeriCorps programs like NCCC and AmeriCorps State and National. Since 1965, over 220,000 AmeriCorps VISTA members have worked with local organizations to alleviate poverty. So the Ohio CDC Association's AmeriCorps VISTA program. Our VISTA program started in 1995 as a partnership with the Corporation for National and Community Service, and we place VISTA members every summer, every June or July, at different member organizations throughout the state of Ohio. We do reserve 9 VISTA spots for specific housing only initiatives, and that funding is through the Ohio Housing Trust Fund. We definitely can have more than 9 housing projects, but we specifically reserve 9 spots for housing only initiatives. Currently, we have 31 VISTAs serving throughout Ohio. Most of them started in June and July, and they will be ending their service in June or July of 2022. So our VISTA priorities overall, and this is not specific to the Ohio CDC Association, is to deepen the program impact, serve those in greatest need, enhance quality of member experience, and expand access to participation. So these 4 priorities were specified in a recent sponsor call at the end of October. And these were very deliberate priorities established by CNCS in response to the past couple of years. We've seen a lot of changes within the VISTA program, including a switch from state offices to regional offices, as well as a deliberate attempt to increase participation. This looks like raising their living allowance, which is supposed to be the cost of living, and as well as expanding outreach and recruitment efforts and diversifying areas in which VISTAs serve. So this is a quick breakdown of what our AmeriCorps VISTA program looks like. Up at the top, you'll see CNCS. CNCS oversees all of the AmeriCorps programs, so NCCC, state and national, as well as VISTA. But specifically for us, since we're only working within the VISTA program, we are working with Noel Welsh, who is our CNCS portfolio manager for the Midwest Regional Office. In the middle there, you'll see OCDCA. We're responsible for managing the overall grant for the Ohio CDC program, as well as for the Summer Associate VISTA program. And then at the bottom, you'll see subsites, which is you guys. And you guys are the ones that are providing the daily member support. You are the ones who know your project inside and out, you know your organization, and you know the communities that you're serving a lot better than I would, simply because I'm looking over an entire state. And you guys are familiar with your specific organization's goals as well as the communities that you're serving. So while you're managing the day-to-day, I'm managing the overall reporting, the overall budget for the program, as well as future grants for our VISTA program. I report directly to Noel. He is the one I go to for any questions. So if I don't have an answer to a question that you have, he definitely will. So these are overall CNCS focus areas. And in bold, you'll see the Ohio CDC Association's focus areas. So disaster services, economic opportunity, education, environmental, stewardship, healthy futures, as well as support for veterans and military families. We focus on economic opportunity, environmental stewardship, and healthy futures. But what does that mean? Those are very broad terms. So previously, we had 6 project goals specific to our organization, which is to provide affordable housing, to provide housing counseling, to increase employment opportunities, increase and maintain assets, increase access to fresh and healthy foods, and increase energy and water efficiency. These project goals were created in collaboration with CNCS. We brainstormed different ways of wording this, and then we sent them over to CNCS, and they said, great, these are your project goals. These are project goals that we will see on every single VAD submitted to us through your program. And we'll go over what a VAD is later. But these goals hadn't been updated in several years. So this year we decided to clarify a lot of these project goals, as well as add more to these project goals to better diversify what you as an organization can apply for. So I know this looks like a lot of words, but these are our new Ohio CDC VISTA project goals. A lot of them are the same. We've just added a lot more, not a lot, but I would say more detail to these goals to help focus what you as an organization can be doing to achieve these goals. When we talk about the VISTA assignment description and the VAD, I will go over how you would use these project goals within your application and within your VAD. Some additional goals that we have added is to build the capacity of CDCs to achieve diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice for low-income individuals and communities, as well as to build the capacity of CDCs to design, implement, and execute effective marketing, volunteer engagement, and program improvement tools. That last one, a lot of organizations already do, and that was already built into a lot of their VAD activities, but we decided to add this as a project goal because we've seen it so frequently in the different projects that we fund, that we decided to add it as a goal to be more specific for your own organization. And all of these VISTA project goals are listed in our application instructions as well as in our application in several locations. So you should be able to find these no problem when you're writing your application. So our program requirements, there is a program fee. It is $1,600 per VISTA, and we invoice this in quarterly installments of $400. The first payment would be at the start of your, when your VISTA starts their service. Of course, since we're billing it quarterly, we will prorate it. If anything were to happen where your VISTA left service, we wouldn't ask you to pay the full $1,600. And that's pretty technical and specific. But just for your information, for a full year of VISTA, it's $1,600 per VISTA. VISTA members have to have at least one full-time staff person assigned as a supervisor to them. They can definitely have more than one supervisor, but they need to have at least one full-time staff person that they report to. You as a subsite would need to provide your VISTA member with reasonable resources. This includes a computer, a telephone if they're using, if they're making a lot of phone calls, any documents or access to documents and resources that they need to better do their job. You as a subsite are required to provide these to your VISTAs. You as a subsite are also required to attend a supervisor training in February of 2022. I know it says 2021, but it's 2022. That will be virtual. In the past, we've done it in person and it's been a full day training, but the past couple years we've done it virtually for obvious reasons. So that date hasn't been decided yet, but that will be sent out, and that is, you are required to attend that if you are awarded a VISTA. You are also required to send at least one staff member along with your VISTA to our annual conference, which is held in the fall. I don't have specific dates for that, but you are required to send one staff member. The VISTA is required to attend. You can definitely send more than one, but at least one staff member, which is typically the supervisor, will attend. So, and these are not entirely specific to Ohio CDC, and these are general C&CS rules. VISTA members cannot displace staff or supervise employees. This means that your VISTA cannot be acting as a receptionist or a secretary for you. They are not an intern. They are not there to replace a full-time fundraising position. They're there to build capacity. And this will look different for every organization. If at any point when you're writing the application and you're like, I don't know if this is displacing staff or not, feel free to let me know. A lot of the times I can answer your question. I just need a little bit more detail as to what your activity is and how your organization is structured. They are expected to start in June or July. There's several virtual member orientations or VMOs for June and July. Once we're out of July into August, September, and October, those VMO opportunities are less frequent, and it makes it harder for you as a subsite to find a candidate who is able to start during those times. VISTAs must attend a virtual member orientation. If you have a VISTA who was previously a VISTA at another organization or at another site, they likely will not have to attend a VMO, but every new VISTA member has to attend a VMO. And that's just an orientation to the overall VISTA program, as well as what they as a VISTA member can expect throughout their service year. If at any point, for any reason, your VISTA member must discontinue their service at your site, you cannot receive a replacement VISTA, and you must wait until the next VISTA RFP to apply for a new VISTA member. I will say that this has caveats to it. If your VISTA ends their service within the first 3 months, depending on the reason for leaving service, we can talk about you replacing your new VISTA. But like I said, there are opportunities for another VISTA member to start. It's typically less frequent once we get into September and October and November, whereas June and July, we have VMOs every other week. In the fall, it's maybe once a month, which will make it harder to recruit. And once we get into the fall months, it's definitely a lot harder to recruit generally. But this is very specific. If this happens to your organization, we would definitely have a conversation about it. And we're willing to work with you to find a VISTA to support your organization. If this was to occur and you were to have a new VISTA start, they would be starting for a full year from their start date, not from your previous VISTA start date. You are required to assist your VISTA member with monthly reports and give quarterly updates to the Ohio CDC Association. VISTAs receive their own reporting process. We use SurveyMonkey, and I send out that information monthly. You as a supervisor need to sign off on these reports, and that includes looking at their timesheet to make sure that their timesheet is accurate, as well as helping them answer any questions in regard to their bad, which they also submit monthly. So the big requirement, VISTAs cannot provide direct service, which is defined as the act of providing services to the identified recipients or clients of a program. They cannot tutor clients, they cannot educate clients, they cannot counsel clients or anybody who is part of a program that you are running. They cannot provide direct service. You know, this is always a sticking point for a lot of organizations as to what is and isn't direct service. And within that direct service umbrella, there are some, I will say some, ways for VISTA to do that. And it's typically a one-off. They're allowed to do direct service because a staff member couldn't make it to a training, or they are teaching a training in order to better understand gaps in a curriculum. And we can definitely talk more about that for your specific application. But overall, VISTAs cannot provide direct service. They're required to work full-time, which we have defined as 37.5 hours per week. They are forbidden from participation in religious instruction or proselytizing, and any form of participation in political activities while on duty or perceived to be on duty as an AmeriCorps VISTA. We cannot tell VISTAs what to do in their personal time. I certainly do not care what they do in their personal time. But if they are wearing an AmeriCorps t-shirt, or they are at your organization, or they are representing your organization as a VISTA, off-site somewhere, they cannot be doing any of these activities. If someone were to take a photo of them, let's just say, and one of the things that recently came up in the past couple of years is voter registration. VISTAs cannot do that. They can do it on their own time. They cannot do it while perceived to be on duty or on duty as a VISTA. VISTAs are required to attend our annual conference, as well as at least one OCDCA training that we offer. They can definitely go to more than one, and their registration is free of charge to them, but they have to attend at least one OCDCA training. They are also required to attend an orientation at the start of their service. This used to be in person, and I thought it was great to have them in person because they got to meet all the other VISTAs. However, now we are doing it virtually. I don't see that changing anytime soon, at least for this next year. And then VISTAs are required to complete their pre-service coursework and attend their virtual member orientation, or the VMO, on their first day. Their pre-service coursework and all of that information for their VISTA member orientation is organized by CNCS. They are the ones that are communicating with VISTAs directly in regards to this pre-service coursework and any new hire documents that CNCS requires. They are communicating directly with your VISTA. They will not be communicating that to you. They do communicate it to me, and I will then tell you as a supervisor what to expect for your VISTA, as well as check in with you if we are having trouble contacting them about completing a form. It happens every year. Someone will forget to complete a form, or they thought they did and they didn't. And then CNCS will come to me with a list of people that are missing forms. And then I turn around and go to you guys. It happens every year. It's not a big deal as long as they get their pre-service coursework completed. So some questions that you should be asking yourself if you are considering applying for a VISTA is, do you want to increase your ability to end poverty in your community? And this goes into that capacity building goal, which is, if your organization is struggling to either reach a community or fully help a community, and you have an idea for a program, or a program you currently have is not as efficient as it could be, that is perfect for VISTA. That is something that a VISTA member can come in, they can evaluate your program, they can evaluate gaps in the curriculum, they can evaluate more efficient methods for collecting data or keeping track of volunteers. That is perfect for your organization, because if you're more efficient, you're going to have more time to better help your community. So could you use help tracking donors, recruiting volunteers, or developing other systems? Like I said, this includes volunteer databases. This includes creating a volunteer recruitment strategy. This can include creating a volunteer orientation. This can include a whole host of things that you think will better help your organization. We see a lot of VISTAs that do volunteer recruitment strategies, as well as volunteer tracking. As we also see a lot of marketing for VISTAs. Marketing is something that I've noticed a lot of organizations struggle with, just because it's, you know, your programs, but it's hard to get the word out to your community, either because of access. If your community doesn't have strong access to resources, getting that word out can be difficult. And that's where a VISTA can come in and brainstorm different ways for your organization to become more prominent within your community. So ask yourself if you're trying to keep the lights on or if you're looking to build capacity. If you are looking for someone to just do database management, data collection that will just, you know, go somewhere, do reporting, that is not something that VISTAs do. VISTAs are there to strengthen your organization and to help your organization grow even after their time at your organization is over. A key aspect of VISTA overall is to have a handoff plan. So like once they're gone, you need to be able, you as an organization need to be able to continue their work. So if that means they've created a schedule for grants, and now you know every year that this grant is coming up. If they've created language for grants that is needs to be tweaked and updated every year, that is something that is capacity building, because it's time consuming to write grants and it's time consuming to write good grants. So if your organization struggles with this, having someone come in to identify funding opportunities as well as identify key aspects of your organization that need to be highlighted, that is perfect for VISTA. So how do you apply for VISTA? We currently have an open RFP that was made available at the end of October, and applications are due January 6th. You must be a good standing member in order to be awarded an AmeriCorps VISTA. Previously, we required you to be a member to apply. However, we decided to open up our application process. So if you are not currently an OCDCA member, you can still apply. However, if we look at your application, we like your project, we say, yeah, you can have a VISTA, you do need to become an OCDCA member before we formally award you that VISTA. And you can apply for up to 2 VISTAs, 2 full-time VISTAs. You must be a 501c3 nonprofit or a government agency. And your proposal must include a VISTA assignment description and have project goals that align with our association's program goals. The VISTA assignment description, and when you open up the RFP, you will see all of those goals right before our VISTA assignment description. It looks very intimidating, and I will say it's hard to write a VAD. You won't write a perfect VAD. I've never seen a perfect VAD, even for really solid, stellar applications. I've never seen a perfect VAD. And that's fine. Your VAD isn't going to be perfect, but it does need to be detailed. And it does need to have a solid idea of what your project is for the year. A strong VISTA assignment description has clearly outlined goals, clearly outlined objectives, and then steps to reach those objectives. It has a clear timeline, and it has details for your organization's plan going forward. We understand that it's hard to plan for what you would be doing is planning for June of 2022 to June of 2023. That's very far off, and we get that. When writing your VISTA assignment description, you really want to focus on your goals, what you are hoping to achieve within the year. If something changes, let's just say in September of 2022, and your organization, let's just say, didn't get funding that you were anticipating, or got funding that you weren't, you were unsure about, you can update your VISTA assignment description so that your VISTA can take advantage of changes in your organization. But when writing these VISTA, this VAD, you really do want to focus on, what is my project? What are the goals? How are we going to achieve these goals? It needs to be detailed. You don't need to say, use this specific program to do XYZ. You can just say, research best programs for XYZ. But as long as you have a clear idea and it's clear to us that you know what you want to do, that's a pretty solid VAD. December 7th, we'll be holding a specific technical assistance webinar. So hopefully by December 7th, you have some of your application filled out, and hopefully you have a pretty solid idea of what your VISTA project will be. And then when you come to this webinar, you can ask specific questions for your application, like, would this be considered direct service? Or in what capacity can this be considered, or would this be considered direct service? Is this project, is the project I'm thinking of still right for VISTA? That's the technical assistance webinar will be where I can answer all of those questions. Of course, if you have questions after this and you want to schedule a phone call to go over a specific project you have in mind, I do not mind that. Actually, I encourage it. The more questions I get, the better I feel when looking at your application, because I want to be confident that you are writing an application that you feel confident in. And it helps when we're reviewing applications that I know I have a better sense of what you were looking to do. It does help me better understand your application. That's not to say that if you talk to me, your application is already good. But like I said, I can better guide you throughout the application process if we have a conversation about it. So there's my contact information. I'm sure you all have my email, but it's up there, as well as my office phone number. If you want to fax me, you can. I probably won't see your fax for a little bit. So phone call or email is the best method of reaching me. But you can also check out our website, as well as AmeriCorps.gov. I will be sending out a follow-up email to this with links not only to our RFP and our application, but also to the other AmeriCorps programs that we covered. So if you have any questions about those, you can ask me, or you could also look on the website to see if those answer your questions. Or if you need to see examples of other, NCCC programs, those links would be the best information resource. Questions? Any questions? I see the chat has a few things going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few questions.
Ooh.
Lots of good ones. One of them, can you clarify for the February training, for the supervisor training, does each supervisor have to attend this training, or can the organization just send a representative?
It is highly encouraged that at least one supervisor attend. If you cannot attend for any reason, sending a representative is fine. But like I said, it's very specific to supervisors, the information that we cover in there. So I would really hope that a supervisor attends, at least one, even if they're only a supervisor for part of their project.
Great. Can you also confirm about the OCDCA project goals? Are those finalized?
They are finalized. Those new goals that we see, they were finalized yesterday. So those are the goals that you will be working with going forward.
Great. And then if an organization is awarded a VISTA, what's required of that organization when it comes to reporting to Ohio CDC?
So prior to your VISTA actually starting in June or July, you as an organization are responsible for recruitment. So what we as OCDCA do is we take the information, and when you write your application, you are also actually writing what will essentially be the job description for your position. So there's like, we call it a two-liner, but it's just a brief eye-catching statement of what your position is, as well as a list of member duties and an overall project description. That is something that you submit to us in your application. And when I cover VADs with your organization, if you're awarded a VISTA, I will talk with you about your VAD and things that need to be updated with your VAD. I will also go over your job description. So how to write a catchy job description. And then we put those up on the My AmeriCorps website, which is the site that any VISTA candidate will go to look for AmeriCorps opportunities. So you are responsible for taking the link to your job position, putting it on all your social media, putting it in newsletters, putting it on your website, just getting the word out about your VISTA program or your VISTA project opportunity. But, oh, sorry. And that's pretty much it. Going into June is recruitment, doing the interviews. I will not be doing interviews with you just because of the sheer amount of sites that we would have and the sheer amount of interviews that I would have to do. I wouldn't have a voice. And you as an organization know your needs and how you as an organization operate to make a better judgment call about who you would want to be working with you for the next year. And then once your VISTA starts in June, they are primarily responsible for submitting their monthly reporting. However, if they haven't submitted it, or I'm having trouble contacting them, I will contact you to work with them to get that information submitted.
Great, thanks. There's more questions coming. I encourage you to type them in, or if you want to wait for a lull, you can ask it out loud. But for right now, Alana, do you foresee hybrid and teleservice continuing into 2022?
Yes. It looks like in 2020, it was a temporary full-time teleservice policy. However, I don't see that changing anytime soon. If anything, hybrid options will still be available. But for the time being, if a VISTA wants to serve full-time remotely, they can. However, if the policy changes in 2022 or mid-service for your VISTA, they would be required to adhere to that policy. So this past year, we've seen VISTAs that decided not to move and they're still working remotely, doing work, not in their city or not close to their organization, and their organization is okay with that. But if something were to change where CNCS says you have to work at least 2 days in the office, your VISTA would be required to adhere to that. And you should be upfront about that when you're conducting interviews.
Okay. And then just clarification, more on the reporting.
Yeah.
Is there any reporting that the site has to do to Ohio CDC?
No, all of your reporting is covered through your VISTA's reporting. I will probably ask every now and then for like blurbs or updates from your organization and all the awesome work the VISTAs do, especially because I've noticed that it's hard for a VISTA to brag about their work when they should be. So if you as a supervisor can brag for them, that's greatly appreciated.
Great. And then I put links to a bunch of stuff Alana had been saying throughout the session. She's going to send them out again to you. And I personally strongly encourage you to attend the RFP technical assistance webinar. But if you can't, we are also recording that, right? And sharing that?
Yeah.
Okay. this webinar and also that one will be on our website also, so you can access it later. Plus, just
Anytime.
call Alana.
Yeah, just
She
call
has
me.
nothing to do but talk to you. Are you going to be emailing out the new project goals?
Yes, I will include that in this webinar follow-up. But like I said, those project goals are also in the RFP and the RFP instructions. I went ahead and put them in there with the hope that they would be approved.
Great. I do not see any more questions.
Are there any questions that anyone wants to ask aloud? No? Okay. Oh, I saw someone unmute themselves.
I did.
It was
I did
just
have a
me.
question.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Samantha.
And I know you kind of said it, but I think I missed it. You said that we could have a remote Vista, but then you said that depends on some other. There was an acronym. I don't remember.
CNCS. Yeah.
So does it just depend, or is that something that's open to us?
It's open to you right now. Any site that has a Vista can have their Vista serving remotely.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and OCDCA, we don't have the power to make changes to that. We have to adhere to overall VISTA policies. So the overall VISTA policy right now is they're allowed to serve full time. And I frankly, your organization wants them to serve full time, they can definitely do that. But you as an organization can make that a consideration when you're doing interviews. Is look, we're going to need you to come in every now and then, or we as an office are full time. But we as a sponsor, we cannot tell your organization that your VISTA needs to be serving full time. So I hope this was helpful. I see a lot of new names. So like I said, if you watch this and you're like, I still don't know if my VISTA project is a VISTA project or if it's better for state and national, please feel free to give me a call or send me an email. I'd be happy to talk with you more before you dive into your application. I did have a recent phone call with someone who had an idea, and she's like, is this VISTA? And I was like, that sounds like state and national. And like I said, I can definitely point you in the direction of other organizations that have state and national programs or NCCC programs. So just talk to me. I'm nice, I promise.
This is true. Alana is nice and willing to help you.
But if that's all we have, I will wrap up this session. Thank you all for attending. I hope it was helpful. You'll get a follow-up email with the presentation and a bunch of links, and then you'll have my email. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Lisa, for monitoring the chat and sending out links. I hope you guys have a good afternoon, and see you later.